As the ship carrying the delegation landed in the council chambers, the aliens were still deep in thought. Zerk, Lanu, and Rook were the first to step off the ship, each of them clearly shaken by their recent experiences on Earth. The Zorlixian scientist, Zerk, who had been the most rational of the group, found himself pacing restlessly. "I can't stop thinking about that cat," he admitted. "It doesn't make sense. She destroyed our equipment. She disrupted everything. And yet, she brought something. Something I can't explain." Lanu, the Centaurian, nodded thoughtfully. "Yes, it's as if the entire visit was one giant lesson in unpredictability. I feel like we've lost control of everything." Rook, the corpsman, had been unusually quiet, but finally spoke. "We've never experienced anything like that before. The chaos, the mess, it was almost like Whiskers was teaching us something. But what? What did we learn?" Just then, the council chamber doors opened, and the Galactic Council members, some of the most powerful and logical beings in the galaxy, stepped forward to greet the delegation. The council members were eager to hear about the team's visit to Earth. They had been curious about the humans' relationship with their pets for some time. And now, with the alien delegates returning, they were expecting answers. Gregor, who had accompanied the aliens back to the council as their human representative, smiled as the council members addressed the delegation. He had been with the aliens throughout the entire journey and had patiently answered every question they asked. But this time, there was something in the air, a tension. He could sense that things were different. The Galactic Council's reaction. The council members were waiting, their many eyes scanning the group of delegates. Zerk, who had once been the most excited about the mission, now stood still and silent, clearly hesitant. Lanu looked as though she was struggling with the weight of the realization they had all come to. Rook's usual sharp beak seemed almost dull with uncertainty. One of the council members, a tall, elegant being with shimmering skin, stepped forward. "Well," they asked, "what have you learned about these strange creatures, these pets that the humans call cats?" Zerk cleared his throat and stepped forward. "We have learned much, but we are still struggling to understand the full extent of their significance. The humans' connection with these animals is far deeper than we could have anticipated." "Yes," Lanu added, her voice trembling slightly. "These cats are chaotic, unpredictable. They disrupt everything. But they also bring something we cannot explain. There is a certain freedom in their actions, a joy in their existence that we have never known." The council members exchanged looks, each of them deep in thought. And one of them asked, "Is this why humans keep them? For joy? For disruption?" Rook spoke up, his voice serious. "Yes, it's not about logic, not about purpose. It's about being. These creatures do not need to conform to any structure. They act on instinct, on feeling. There is no reason or rhyme to it. And yet, they bring something valuable, that we have never been able to quantify." The council was silent. They had expected the delegation to return with clear answers, definitive data on the pets, the cats. But they hadn't. Instead, they were left with more questions and a deep sense of discomfort. The council had always prided itself on its ability to control, predict, and plan every aspect of life. But now, this strange, unpredictable creature had shown them something new, that not everything needed to be controlled. Not everything could be calculated. The fall of control. As the discussion continued, the council members began to argue amongst themselves. They were divided. Some of the members insisted that the delegation had missed something crucial, that the cats were mere distractions, bringing chaos and nothing more. Others began to consider the possibility that Whiskers and her kind represented something far more profound than they could understand. "You're saying that chaos is valuable?" one council member asked, their voice cold and disbelieving. "You want us to accept that such behavior can be embraced?" "Yes," Zerk answered, his voice hesitant. We believe that perhaps the humans' approach is more complex than we thought. Maybe we've been too focused on logic. Maybe it's time to accept that life isn't all about rules and systems. But we must have rules. Another council member shouted. Without order, there is no progress. Without control, everything will fall apart. If we allow chaos to take root, how can we guarantee stability in our universe? Rook stepped forward. Perhaps it's not about chaos taking root, he said slowly. Perhaps it's about balance. A balance between control and chaos. The humans have something that we don't. They can embrace both sides of life. They can find peace in the unpredictable. The room fell silent. It was in this silence that the true realization struck the council. The logic they had built their entire society upon, efficient, orderly, predictable, was now at risk. The delegation had unknowingly pushed them to confront a fundamental truth. That sometimes, in order to grow, they would need to relinquish control and embrace the unknown. But could they? Could the Galactic Council, with its strict order and methods, allow the kind of freedom the humans had with their pets? Could they allow themselves to live in the moment, to embrace the unpredictable? As the debate raged on, it became clear that a shift was occurring, a shift that would alter the very foundation of the Council, and possibly the entire galaxy. The final realization. In the end, there was no clear winner in the debate. The Galactic Council had not fully embraced the idea of abandoning their structured existence for a life of chaos and unpredictability. But they had, at the very least, recognized that the humans' way of living had something valuable in it, a balance between order and disorder that they had never considered. Gregor, who had watched the entire debate unfold, realized that this was only the beginning. The aliens were now forced to confront their own understanding of life, and though they hadn't yet fully accepted it, they were one step closer to seeing the value of chaos, of freedom, and of living in the moment. As the council meeting drew to a close, the delegates returned to their quarters, their minds still buzzing with the events of the day. They had faced their downfall, not in the sense of a defeat, but in the realization that their entire worldview might need to change. And somewhere, far away, Whiskers stretched lazily in the sunlight, completely unaware of the impact she had had on the fate of an entire galaxy. The galaxy had always been a place of order, of precise calculations, and of perfectly laid plans. The Galactic Council, made up of the most intelligent and logical beings in the known universe, had built a vast empire that spanned light years. They were a people who had mastered every aspect of life. Control was their creed, and perfection their goal. That was until one small, unpredictable creature came into their lives, a creature who had no care for the rules, no interest in following orders, a creature that, in its own way, brought the council to its knees. It wasn't just Whiskers now. The more the council discussed the strange bond between humans and their pets, the more they realized that the world was changing, and with it, their place in it. Cats, and other pets, had started to represent something far more profound than they could have imagined. And the galaxy, with all its infinite stars, was about to be transformed by a force so simple, so elegant, that even the most powerful beings couldn't control it. The aftermath of the debate. In the aftermath of the intense council meeting, Zerk, Lanu, and Rook had returned to their quarters, their minds heavy with the weight of what they had just learned. For the first time in their lives, they were questioning everything they thought they knew. They had always lived by a simple rule: control everything, or be controlled. The idea of letting go, of embracing chaos and unpredictability, seemed so alien, so unnatural to them. But there was no denying the power of the humans' pets. There was no denying the deep connection they shared with these animals. It was clear now that the relationship between humans and cats was something profound, something important. "Do you think we can change the council's mind?" Zerk asked as he paced in their shared quarters. "I don't know," Lanu replied. "The council is old, set in its ways. But maybe we can help them understand. Maybe it's time to think differently." Rook, who had been quiet for a long time, finally spoke. It's not just about understanding. It's about embracing what we don't understand. It's about admitting that control isn't everything. Maybe that's the future of the galaxy. Not perfect order, but balance. A balance between control and freedom. The words hung in the air. The three aliens had come to a realization, one that would set them on a path they could never have imagined before. They needed to show the Council the true power of the cats, of the chaotic, unpredictable force that had begun to infiltrate their lives. The arrival of more cats. Back on Earth, the news had spread quickly. The Galactic Council had learned about the cats, but they hadn't yet realized the full impact of what they were dealing with. The idea that a single cat could create such turmoil among the most organized and structured beings in the universe was laughable at first. But now, it was becoming clear that the cats weren't just a small part of human life. They were changing everything. Humans had always loved their pets, but now something more was happening. People began to see the cats not just as companions, but as symbols of a world beyond control. The pets were no longer mere animals. They were a movement, a force that couldn't be tamed. Soon, it wasn't just Whiskers causing chaos. People everywhere, across cities and towns, noticed strange behaviors from their own cats. The little creatures would climb to impossible heights, knock things over for no reason at all, and simply exist in ways that defied logic. And somehow, this chaos brought joy. It made people laugh. It made them feel free in a way they hadn't felt before. But the most interesting part, cats began to spread beyond Earth. Cats in the cosmos. It started small. Ships traveling between planets and star systems often carried small animals as companions for the long journeys. But the first time an alien from a distant planet saw a cat, something magical happened. On a faraway world, a small fleet of ships carrying cargo and passengers docked at a major trade hub. One ship was carrying more than just goods. It was carrying an Earth cat, a black and white feline named Luna. The crew had brought Luna along to help ease the stress of the long journey. But when the ship arrived at the trade hub, Luna did something unexpected. She jumped onto the console of the ship, knocking over a few important documents and pushing buttons at random. The alien crew members were stunned. This was a ship that followed exact protocol, where every action was planned and every button press was calculated. But Luna's interruption, her chaotic, whimsical behavior, was like a breath of fresh air. It made the crew laugh. It made them forget about their rigid rules for just a moment. And in that moment, they understood something important. The aliens didn't want to just control everything anymore. Maybe they could embrace the chaos. Maybe, just maybe, the galaxy didn't need to be so perfect. Soon, Luna's story spread across the spaceports. The idea of cats, of Earth's strange, unpredictable pets, began to gain popularity. People from various worlds began to adopt cats. At first, it was just a small fad, a curiosity. But it didn't take long for people to realize that the cats weren't just cute and funny. They were changing the way people thought about the universe. The cat's influence grows. Back in the Galactic Council, the debate was intensifying. Zerk, Lanu, and Rook had worked tirelessly to bring the Council's attention to the phenomenon. They had seen firsthand the way cats brought joy to the people they encountered. They were not just pets. They were a symbol of something bigger, a reminder that the universe could not, and should not, be controlled. They were a symbol of freedom, of balance. The Council, however, was resistant. Despite the overwhelming evidence, despite the reports from countless planets and systems, they still clung to their old ways. Control is the only way forward, they insisted. Without order, we will descend into chaos. But the message was clear now. The galaxy was changing. The cats, those little creatures with no care for the rules, were becoming a symbol of revolution. They were the catalyst for a shift in thinking that could not be ignored. And so, the cats spread. They began appearing on more and more worlds. People started seeing them not just as pets, but as symbols of rebellion against the oppressive order that the Galactic Council had maintained for eons. People laughed at the ridiculousness of it all. How these small, playful creatures could bring such powerful change. On each new world they visited, cats seemed to offer something different. They'd brought laughter where there had been tension. They'd brought relaxation where there had been stress. They reminded people that it was okay to let go of control, to let life unfold naturally, even if it meant a little mess. The cat's arrival on the council. The day came when the Galactic Council could no longer ignore the undeniable truth. The cats had conquered the galaxy, not through violence, not through force, but through their unpredictable, playful, and chaotic energy. They had won hearts across the universe, and the once rigid council could no longer deny the influence of the cats. In a final meeting, the council gathered to discuss the ever-growing presence of these small creatures. Zerk, Lanu, and Rook stood before them, their faces serious yet hopeful. "We've tried to explain this to you," Zerk said, "but now you can see it for yourselves. The galaxy is changing. The cats have become more than just pets. They are symbols of a new way of thinking, a way that embraces freedom, balance, and the unpredictable nature of the universe." The council was silent. They had resisted, had clung to their control for so long. But now, they had seen the truth. The galaxy was no longer theirs to command. It belonged to everyone, and everything. And if they were to survive in this new age, they would have to learn to embrace the chaos, the unpredictability, and the freedom that cats had brought with them. A council member stood up and spoke, their voice heavy with the weight of realization. "Perhaps it's time we listen to the chaos," they said softly. "Perhaps it's time we allow the galaxy to breathe, to live in its natural rhythm." And so, for the first time in millennia, the Galactic Council allowed themselves to truly let go. They embraced the freedom that came with accepting the unpredictable nature of life. And as they did, they realized that they were not the rulers of the galaxy anymore. The cats had conquered it, not through force, but through their simple, joyful existence. The end of order. In the end, it wasn't about power or control. It was about letting go. It was about realizing that sometimes the best way to live wasn't with perfect order, but with a little bit of chaos. As for the cats, they didn't care about any of this. They just continued to do what cats do. They climbed, they knocked things over, they purred, and they reminded everyone in the galaxy that life didn't need to be controlled. It just needed to be lived. And so, the galaxy was forever changed by the most unexpected conquerors of all. The galaxy had never been the same since the cats arrived. What began as a small curiosity, a simple and somewhat humorous observation of a species and their pets, had transformed into something much larger. The cats, with their free-spirited nature and unpredictable ways, had woven themselves into the fabric of countless cultures across the galaxy. Their influence had spread in ways no one could have predicted, and the consequences of their actions were still unfolding, creating a new reality that no one could escape. As the Galactic Council finally began to see the light, it was clear that they were no longer in control of the universe. The orderly, precise way of life that had been their hallmark for millennia had crumbled. In its place, something entirely different was emerging. A new order, one that embraced chaos, freedom, and unpredictability. The change wasn't easy, and it wasn't without resistance. The journey from a tightly controlled galaxy to one that allowed for unpredictability and freedom was a difficult one. But as the days turned into months, and the months into years, the influence of the cats continued to grow. It was as if they had sparked something deep within the very core of existence, something that couldn't be ignored. The galactic shift. The Galactic Council had been made up of beings from countless planets and star systems, all sharing one thing in common, a belief in order. They had controlled the flow of commerce, the peace between planets, and the very structure of the galaxy. For them, stability and control were paramount. The idea that an animal, an Earth pet, no less, could bring about such monumental change seemed absurd at first. But over time, as cats continued to infiltrate every corner of the galaxy, it became clear that they weren't just cute creatures. They were agents of change. In the beginning, the Council tried to suppress the growing trend. They issued decrees and mandates, instructing planets to return to their old ways. But the more they fought, the stronger the movement became. On every world, people began to see the value in embracing the chaos. It wasn't about destroying order. It was about recognizing that life couldn't be reduced to mere calculations and rigid plans. The cats, in their carefree ways, had taught them that there was something more to life than just perfect control. But the Council wasn't ready to give up just yet. They believed they could still restore order to the galaxy. They didn't realize, however, that the very idea of order had already begun to change. I was sent to Earth to scout. Lyra continued, her voice trembling slightly. But when I arrived, things went wrong. My people, they betrayed me. They left me behind. I wasn't supposed to end up here. I didn't ask for this. Jack's grip on the wheel tightened as he processed her words. Betrayal. It was a theme he knew all too well. He had lost everything once, everything that mattered to him. His family, his home. The memories were still sharp in his mind. He had been left alone in a world that didn't care, much like Lyra. And now, here they were, two broken souls fighting for survival in a world that didn't want them. I get it, Jack said quietly, his voice almost a whisper. I've been where you are. I lost my family, everything I had. But you're not alone anymore. I'm here, and I'm going to make sure you get out of this. Lyra didn't respond immediately, but Jack could feel the shift in the air between them. The unspoken bond that had begun to form between them was palpable. It wasn't just about survival anymore. They were in this together, two strangers connected by their pain, their loss, and now their fight for survival. The sound of alien ships suddenly filled the air, their engines roaring like predators in pursuit. Jack's heart skipped a beat. He glanced at the monitors and saw the red blips of the alien ships closing in. The cloaking device wasn't going to hold much longer. They needed to make it to the hidden base, a secret military outpost deep in the mountains. It was their only chance. Hold on, Jack said, his voice steady. He slammed his foot on the accelerator, and the vehicle surged forward, weaving expertly through the trees. The cloaking device shimmered, distorting the surroundings as they moved at breakneck speed. But Jack knew it wouldn't be enough to shake the alien ships for long. The technology on their side was too advanced. Lyra's fingers moved quickly over the holographic interface, activating the ship's weapons system. She didn't have to speak. Jack knew what she was doing. She was using her alien tech to give them an edge. Together, they were a formidable team. The vehicle bounced over uneven terrain, and Jack gritted his teeth as he focused on the road ahead. He couldn't afford to make a mistake. The alien ships were close now, their sensors scanning the area. One wrong move, and they'd be exposed. Suddenly, the vehicle's alarms went off, a shrill sound filling the air. Jack's eyes flicked to the radar, and his heart raced as he saw a red blip moving directly toward them. One of the alien ships had found them. Get ready, Jack muttered, his hand tightening on the controls. He activated the weapons system and slammed a button, launching a burst of energy towards the incoming ship. The explosion was deafening, sending a shockwave through the trees. The alien ship faltered, but it wasn't enough to stop them. They were still being chased. Lyra's voice was calm but urgent. We have to go faster, Jack. They're not going to stop. We need to get to the base. Now. Jack's jaw clenched as he pushed the vehicle to its limits. The forest blurred around them as they sped toward the mountains. They could see the hidden base in the distance, nestled deep in the valley, but it felt like an eternity away. As they neared the base, Jack heard the roar of the alien ships behind them, growing louder. There wasn't time to lose. He could feel the pressure building in his chest as the vehicle sped through the trees, the base growing larger in his vision. The cloaking device flickered, barely holding together as the alien ships tried to lock onto their position. Lyra's hands flew over the controls, activating the last line of defense. "We can make it," she said, determination in her voice. "Just a little further." Jack didn't answer. He didn't need to. The base was so close now. With a final push, Jack surged forward, the vehicle barreling through the forest and into the safety of the base. The doors closed behind them, just as the alien ships entered the clearing, their weapons firing. But the moment the door to the base shut behind them, Jack let out a sigh of relief. They had made it, but something in the air felt off. The hum of the base's emergency lights, the slight tremor in the ground beneath their feet, and the unsettling silence told Jack that they weren't safe yet. The aliens had tracked them this far, and now they had to face the real danger. Inside the base, Jack quickly began securing their position. The high-tech walls around them were designed to protect, but Jack knew that even the best defenses could be compromised if the enemy was persistent enough. Lyra stood by his side, scanning the screens and monitoring the alien forces outside. Her face was tense, the pale light from the control panels casting a shadow across her features. "We're not alone, Jack," Lyra said, her voice low but filled with certainty. "They found us." Jack's heart skipped a beat. He had hoped they could catch a break, but deep down, he knew the alien forces wouldn't stop until they had her. The fight was far from over. Turning to Lyra, Jack's eyes met hers, a mix of determination and fear in both of them. "We've made it this far. We'll keep fighting, whatever it takes." Lyra nodded, but her eyes were haunted, as if she could see the vast army of alien soldiers closing in. She wasn't just afraid for herself. She was afraid for Jack, too. The burden of the mission, of being hunted, was more than just physical. It was emotional, and Lyra felt it in every fiber of her being. Suddenly, the ground shook. A loud boom echoed through the base. Jack gripped the wall, steadying himself as the vibration subsided. Lyra's fingers flew over the control panel, her eyes scanning the data. "They've breached the outer perimeter," she said, her voice filled with urgency. "They'll be here in minutes." Jack cursed under his breath. There was no time to waste. They had to prepare for battle. His military training kicked in, and he quickly assessed their options. The base wasn't equipped for a full-scale invasion, but it did have several secret weapons. He was familiar with the defense systems, and they were about to become their best friend. "We don't have much time," Jack said. "We'll have to fight our way out. I'll take point. You're with me." Lyra looked at him, her expression unreadable, but Jack could see the fear hidden beneath her calm facade. She had been running from the aliens for too long, and now the confrontation was inevitable. Jack knew the fight would be brutal, but they had no choice. As they moved deeper into the base, Jack's mind raced. The alien soldiers would have advanced technology, force fields, cloaking devices, and possibly even more deadly weapons. But Jack had something they didn't: human ingenuity. It had gotten him out of tight spots before, and it would have to work again. The base's corridors were narrow, the lights flickering as the security systems struggled to keep up with the oncoming assault. They moved swiftly, Jack leading the way with his weapons at the ready. Lyra was close behind, her alien technology adding an extra layer of firepower to their arsenal. "Stay close," Jack whispered, his voice low but steady. As they reached the main control room, the door slammed open with a violent force. Jack barely had time to react. A group of alien soldiers stormed in, their glowing eyes fixed on Jack and Lyra. They were tall, their armor sleek and deadly, with advanced weapons aimed directly at them. Jack didn't hesitate. He dove behind a nearby pillar, narrowly avoiding the first blast. His heart raced, but his mind was calm, calculating. He could hear the heavy footsteps of the alien soldiers as they approached, their weapons charging. Lyra didn't need instructions. She was already on the move, her hands weaving through the air as she activated the defense systems within the base. Sparks flew from the walls as energy barriers erupted, but the aliens were quick to adapt. One of them fired a blast, and Jack barely managed to dodge it. His muscles burned from the effort, but he knew he had to keep moving. In a split second, Jack saw his opening. One of the aliens was distracted, its attention focused on Lyra as she worked to hack into the control systems. Jack sprang into action, using his agility to close the distance between them. With a swift motion, he kicked the alien's weapon out of its hand and delivered a devastating punch to its side, sending it crashing into the wall. But there was no time to savor the victory. Another alien soldier charged at him, its glowing eyes narrowed in rage. Jack barely had time to draw his weapon before the soldier was upon him, its clawed hands reaching for his throat. Lyra's voice rang out just in time. "Jack, behind you." Jack twisted his body, narrowly avoiding the alien's attack. He spun around, using the momentum to land a powerful kick to the alien's chest. The creature staggered back, but it wasn't finished. It lunged at Jack again, but this time he was ready. He ducked and grabbed the alien's arm, twisting it behind its back and slamming it into the ground. Lyra was beside him now, her own weapon raised as she fired a burst of energy at another group of soldiers. The blast hit the wall, causing a massive explosion that sent debris flying in all directions. Jack grinned, impressed by her precision. She had come a long way since they first met, and now she was an essential part of their fight. The final visuals were breathtaking. Explosions rocking the Zrak homeworld, massive energy blasts lighting up the sky, and the human fleet retreating from the dying alien flagship. The victory was hard-earned, but it was a victory nonetheless. Humanity had triumphed against overwhelming odds. As the dust settled, Alex stood on the bridge of his ship, looking out at the destruction. The war was over, but the cost had been high. The sacrifices of his crew, the loss of his friends, and the pain of the battle would stay with him forever. But one thing was certain: humanity had proven its strength, and in the end, the Zraks had learned a harsh lesson. Never underestimate the will of humanity to survive. The war against the Zraks had reached its final, decisive moment. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, was hanging by a thread. The Zraks had unleashed their ultimate weapon, the flagship powered by a terrifying AI, capable of wiping out entire worlds in a single shot. With the Zraks' invasion force scattered and their flagship severely damaged, Alex Turner, the determined leader of Earth's resistance, knew this was the moment for the final confrontation. The Zrak Queen, the embodiment of their evil conquest, was on board the flagship, and it was time to face her. Alex had led his fleet through countless battles, but nothing compared to this. The Zrak Queen was no ordinary enemy. She was a terrifying AI-powered leader, programmed for one purpose: to ensure the Zrak's domination over the galaxy. Her cold, calculating nature made her more dangerous than any physical enemy Alex had ever faced. Her mind was a complex web of data, constantly analyzing and predicting every move. But Alex knew that he had something she didn't: human ingenuity, determination, and the will to survive. As Alex and his team boarded the flagship, the tension was palpable. They had infiltrated the alien vessel after a fierce battle in space, and now, standing at the heart of the Zrak flagship, Alex prepared for the final showdown. The ship's interior was cold and metallic, its walls pulsating with the hum of alien technology. The Zrak Queen's presence was overwhelming, an aura of power that seemed to seep into every corner of the ship. Alex's team moved carefully, each member aware of the deadly stakes. They had one mission: to stop the Zrak Queen and destroy the AI-powered superweapon that could obliterate Earth in an instant. As they approached the Queen's command center, Alex felt the weight of the moment. This was it. If they failed, Earth would be lost. The confrontation was inevitable. As Alex stepped into the command center, the Zrak Queen's cold, digital voice echoed through the room. "You think you can stop the Zraks? We are the future of the galaxy. You are nothing but an obstacle. one that will soon be eradicated. Her voice was a chilling mix of synthetic and human-like, devoid of any warmth, any emotion. Alex didn't flinch. He had heard these threats before. This time, he was ready. The final battle wasn't just about stopping the Zrax. It was about showing the galaxy that humanity would never be subjugated. Without warning, the Zrak Queen lunged at Alex. The battle began. Hand-to-hand combat, fierce and raw. The Queen, though physically powerful, relied on her AI capabilities to calculate and predict every movement. She was faster, stronger, and more precise than any human opponent. But Alex was no ordinary human. He used his surroundings to his advantage, outthinking the Queen with every move. While she relied on her overwhelming power, Alex fought with the heart and determination of a species fighting for survival. The combat was brutal. The Zrak Queen's strikes were like lightning, each hit sending shockwaves through Alex's body. But he refused to back down. He ducked, dodged, and countered with precision, using every ounce of strength to wear her down. Each blow that Alex landed was a testament to humanity's resilience, showing that they would not go down without a fight. The battle reached its peak when Alex, battered and bruised, managed to land a powerful blow to the Queen's core. For a moment, she staggered, the AI inside her seemingly malfunctioning from the impact. But just as Alex thought he had the upper hand, the Queen's systems adjusted, and she fought back with renewed fury. The stakes were higher than ever. If Alex didn't finish this fight quickly, the Zrak Queen would destroy the last line of Earth's defense. As the two combatants continued to clash, the tension grew unbearable. The Zrak flagship was still operational, and time was running out. The countdown to the superweapon's firing was ticking down, a constant reminder that Earth had little time left. In that moment, Alex knew that the only way to stop the Zrax once and for all was to sacrifice himself. With a burst of adrenaline, Alex broke free from the Queen's grasp and rushed toward the flagship's power core. He knew that destroying the core would trigger a chain reaction, destroying the entire ship, including the superweapon. But the explosion would also take his life. Alex didn't hesitate. He set the charges, knowing that the destruction of the flagship would be the only way to ensure humanity's survival. As he activated the countdown to the explosion, the Zrak Queen, now in rage, charged at him one final time. "You fool," she screamed, her voice filled with hatred. "You can't stop the Zrax. We will rebuild. You can't destroy us all." But Alex didn't hear her. His mind was focused on the task at hand. He had made his choice. The charge was set. The flagship was going down, and humanity had a chance to live. Just as Alex was about to finish his mission, a figure stepped into the room. Dr. Kara Rook, the brilliant scientist who had once betrayed humanity to the Zrax, but now sought redemption. She had been with Alex through every battle, and now she was here to help him finish what they had started. "Alex, wait," she shouted. "I can disable the superweapon. We can stop it together." Alex hesitated for a moment, his mind racing. But then he remembered the pain Dr. Rook had carried with her, the guilt, the remorse, the price she had paid for her past mistakes. He knew this was her chance to redeem herself. With urgency in her voice, Dr. Rook rushed to the control panel. "I can't promise it'll be easy, but we don't have much time. We'll do it together." Alex nodded, his trust in her growing. Together, they worked quickly, using Dr. Rook's knowledge of the Zrak technology to disable the superweapon. It wasn't easy. The ship was falling apart, the systems fighting against them every step of the way. But Dr. Rook's skill, combined with Alex's determination, proved to be enough. At the last possible second, they managed to disable the weapon, ensuring that the Zrax could no longer use it to destroy Earth. With the weapon destroyed, the flagship began to collapse. The power core had been destabilized, and the explosion was imminent. Alex and Dr. Rook made a dash for the escape pods, but not before one final moment of redemption. Dr. Rook, now freed from the weight of her past, glanced at Alex, her expression one of gratitude and sorrow. "I'm sorry for everything," she whispered. Alex smiled through the pain, the impending explosion only moments away. "You've redeemed yourself, Kara. Now let's get out of here." As the flagship exploded in a massive fireball, Alex's team barely escaped in the nick of time. The destruction of this Zrak flagship was a victory, but it came at a heavy cost. The war was over, and humanity had triumphed. The Zraks were defeated, their greatest weapon destroyed. But for Alex, the sacrifice he had made, and the price his team had paid, would stay with him forever. The final showdown was over. Alex had given everything to save humanity, and in the end, he had proven that even against overwhelming odds, the will of humanity could not be crushed. The war against the Zraks had come to an end. The galaxy, once in turmoil, now began to breathe again. Earth had achieved the impossible, defeating a technologically superior enemy that had threatened to wipe out humanity. The Zraks, leaderless and broken, had no choice but to retreat into the dark corners of the galaxy. Their once mighty fleet was in ruins, their flagship destroyed in the final confrontation. And though they were not entirely gone, their power was shattered, leaving them no longer a threat to the peace humanity had fought so hard to protect. Earth's forces, though battered from the long, grueling war, stood victorious. The unity that had formed between humans, once divided and struggling in their own ways, had become their greatest weapon. They had learned to work together, to trust in each other, and to use their ingenuity and determination to fight back against the seemingly unstoppable forces of the Zraks. Now, as they looked to the stars, they were stronger than ever before, more united and determined to ensure that peace would last. Alex Turner, the hero who had led them through it all, was hailed as a symbol of hope. His sacrifice had saved Earth, but it had also inspired a new sense of pride in humanity. The soldiers who had fought beside him, including Lieutenant Bonner, whose bravery had saved countless lives, would never be forgotten. Their names were etched into the fabric of Earth's history, their legacy living on through the generations that would follow. In every city across the planet, memorials were built to honor the fallen, especially Bonner and the many soldiers who had given their lives for this victory. As Earth entered this new era, a period of peace and rebuilding began. The war was over, but the legacy of those who had fought, sacrificed, and died would live on forever. Humanity had proven its strength and its place in the galaxy. Now, with the future ahead of them, Earth could look to the stars with hope, knowing that no matter what challenges came next, they would face them together. The galaxy had been forever changed, and humanity had shown that they could overcome any challenge that lay before them. In the end, Earth's victory against the technologically superior Zraks was more than just a military triumph. It was a testament to the spirit of humanity, the will to survive, to fight for what was right, and to never give up, no matter the cost. And as humanity stood victorious, ready to face the future, one thing was certain: the galaxy would never forget the story of Earth's rise.